My daughter actually discovered the mole on my ear. We almost thought it was a scab because it had bled. And I didn't really think anything of it, but I made just a routine appointment with my dermatologist. I didn't really think it was going to blossom into such a intense thing in my life. I ended up getting radiation on my head and my neck. After that, I thought I was in the clear, but when I was about 8 months pregnant, I discovered a lump behind that same ear, and it turned out to be a melanoma recurrence. What was supposed to be maternity leave ended up being really treating my cancer and figuring out what we were going to do next. We started immunotherapy, and I did that for about a year. About 4 weeks after I stopped immunotherapy, I found a lump on my shoulder, kind of my neck, on the same side that my melanoma had been on. Then I was stage 4 melanoma. So at that point I went on to TIL therapy. It was kind of my last hope. I had surgery on my liver to remove part of my tumor, and then they took that tumor, sent it out to a lab, and extracted all the lymphocytes from it. And that became my TIL that would later be infused back into my body. Just after Christmas, I was admitted into the bone marrow transplant unit at Anschutz Medical Center, and I spent about 3 weeks there. It was a lot for my body to go through, but I would do it again 100 times over. I'm very fortunate. I had about a 30% chance of responding to the TIL, and luckily, by some sort of miracle, I responded well. I don't have any active cancer in my body at the moment. My support system has been amazing throughout this entire journey. My parents have taken on a lot of childcare for me, so I can go get tests and go to a million doctor's appointments. My husband has really taken on the role of mom and dad at times. I have 3 kids. And then I'm very fortunate, I have a couple of very good friends. I don't think I could have gotten through any of this without the people in my life being so supportive. The journey never really ends once you're diagnosed with cancer. I always tell people dwelling on it and being negative and getting anxious and caught up in your head about what could be and all these hypothetical situations, it doesn't help anything. So I just keep living life. We're outdoors a lot, hiking and camping, and I'm always in a sun shirt with a hat. Wear sunscreen and wear your sun shirt. And if I can inspire people to take care of their skin and not ignore it, then that's awesome. My hope for the future is that I stay cancer-free, and that my TIL just continues to work and kill all that cancer in my body. I want to be there to see all my kids grow up and do all the traveling that I want to do and live all the life that I can.
As I look back on the last 11 years, I am grateful to myself that I was a little bit of a hypochondriac. I felt a little twinge in my right arm, what turned out to be small cell cancer, which is pretty aggressive. So to catch that first cancer was lucky. 5 years later, when generally you're having a glass of wine and a cake, I got diagnosed with non-small cell cancer in the other lung. But when I first was diagnosed with ocular melanoma, I didn't know anything at all about it, zero. I felt a little flicker in my right eye. They thought at first it was a detached retina, and then got in touch with a terrific doctor over there, Scott Oliver, and we determined it was an ocular melanoma, and we decided we'd do brachytherapy. They take a gold pellet and fill it with radioactive seeds and sew it into your eye for about 5 days, and then they take it out, and that should kill the tumor over time, and in my case it did. Metastasizing is always there with melanoma. It's very aggressive from that standpoint, and about 3 years later we had something show up in the liver. The eye thing has been very hard for me. It's the fear of really losing the sight in that eye, totally, which I did for a period of time. Oliver's got me on a regular program where I go over for a shot like every 5 weeks or 6 weeks, and I don't know what he's doing, but it seems to be working, so we're not going to stop it right now. I get terrific support through this voyage from my wife. The two of us, honestly, have been doing this together for the whole time. I might have been taking the chemotherapy and all that, but she was taking me, which was difficult. Got to have somebody who can count on, and I do. We have a 3-week-old granddaughter and a 2.5-year-old granddaughter, and so the big question now is, how do we see more of them? I really don't have a set routine yet because I've only been retired for 4 weeks, but so far it's been fabulous. I've had 7 different cancer situations. So I have, I think, just a little unique story, and the way you get through life, period, is to keep going.
The thing that prompted me to see a physician was I was a girls' high school basketball coach, and I had a callus break open on the bottom of my left foot right below my 3rd toe, and initially didn't think much of it. But after a few weeks of it not healing, I made an appointment and went to see a podiatrist, a foot doctor friend of mine, and he took an x-ray and he said, "Terry, I think you have a cyst in there and I can cut it out." He sent it off to pathology to have it looked at. So my doctor said, "You have an incredibly rare form of melanoma that appears on the bottom of the feet or the palms of the hands." And that started my 13-year odyssey through cancer. So it was 2012. The specific cancer was acral lentiginous melanoma. I knew about melanoma, but I'm of the generation that when I was a teenager, I got suntan, sunburn all the time. But the interesting thing about this disease is it has absolutely nothing to do with sun exposure. So I had the bottom of my foot excised. I had all the lymph nodes in my groin also removed. And then the doctor said, more than likely you'll be dead in 2 years. They put me on a drug called interferon. We're just trying to buy you as much time as we possibly can for new therapies, new treatments to come up. Eventually the interferon became so toxic to my body that I ended up in the intensive care unit with a body temperature of 108 degrees, which is usually not compatible with being alive. So I had to stop. They started me on an immunotherapy that really didn't do anything to the cancer. And so in 2018, I had my foot amputated. 2020, in the middle of the COVID pandemic, I had my left leg amputated above the knee. And because of COVID, they sent me home after 48 hours after having my leg amputated. And my wife and I weren't prepared, but you figure it out. And when I talk about what has gotten me through this are what I call my 3 F's, which are my faith, my family, and my friends. I remember after I had my leg amputated, my oncologist wanted to start me on chemotherapy. And I looked at him and I said, "Is it gonna save my life?" And he said, "Probably not, but it might buy you some more time." So I ended up taking chemotherapy, not because I wanted to, but because I love my wife and daughter more than I actually love myself. And it was the right thing to do. It was the bridge that got me to the clinical trial drug. I'm not doing this by myself. I don't think anybody is successful in a vacuum. So this was really been about what can I give, not so much what I can get or what I can take from this. It's what can my journey teach people? So one of the hobbies I enjoy is reading, and I read quite a bit. And I read this book back in high school, and recently I picked it up again and read it. And it's called Farewell to Arms. It's written by Ernest Hemingway. And there's a line in the book that I absolutely love. Life breaks everyone, and afterward, many are stronger at the broken places. When difficulty, when adversity happens to us, it's gonna beat us to our knees. But if we can keep going, if we can keep moving forward, we're gonna come out the other end stronger and more determined individuals.